Hi there. I wanted to take some time to introduce you to Education 130 Guiding Behavior class, a 3-credit class offered from Whatcom Community College. I'm excited to have you as an online student this quarter. I wanted to take some time to introduce myself, and I'm looking forward to reading your introductions on our first discussion board. So my name is Roxanne Rose, also known as Rock. I've never been a Roxy, but you can feel free to call me Roxanne or to call me Rock. I've been an elementary teacher since 1988. Wow, that was 30 years ago. I started out my teaching career in a place called Chappaqua, New York, which is just north of New York City. And then I headed to Genesee, Idaho, and I taught there for 3 years. I taught mostly 6th graders, but I also did some work with kindergartners as well. And then I moved to Bellingham School District and was a 4th and 5th grade teacher throughout the 90s at Alderwood Elementary School, and learned a lot about reaching diverse needs of learners, and worked with some great colleagues and some wonderful families and students there. Back in 2009, I co-founded a school called Bridgeway Christian Academy, and our school was open for 9 years, and we had a very successful run, and decided to close the doors at the end of the 2018 school year. During my time there, I worked with kindergartners up through 5th grade learners, and have lots of great stories and things that I'll share with you throughout the quarter about my time there at Bridgeway. I've got some new adventures coming up. I've been hired for this coming school year to be the Director of Learning at Bellingham Christian School, which is pre-K through 8th grade school, and I'll be working with teachers there, mostly mentoring teachers and also providing staff development and deciding on curriculum. And also part of my role will also be to assist with any discipline issues and that need to be dealt with through the office. And so that's going to be my new position. I actually started working with Bellingham Christian School teachers during the 2017-18 school year. I was in the building about 1 day a week, but now I will be there full time. So I'm excited for that new position coming up. In addition to these jobs of working with children, I also really enjoy working with future educators. One of the ways that I've done that is, for a while, I was a full-time adjunct professor up at Western Washington University's Department of Elementary Education at the Woodring College of Education up at Western. And then, but in more recent years, I have been what's called a university intern coordinator. And basically that is a fancy way of saying that I supervise student teachers. And so I work with student teachers during their final 3 year, not 3 years, their final 3 quarters of their time up at Western. And so they're out in the schools getting some experience working with kids. The first quarter I work with them, they're in the school 2 half days a week. And then the next quarter, they're in the school 2 full days a week. And then their final quarter, they are in their assigned elementary school full time. And so what happens is I head out to the school they're assigned to, and I observe them, and I meet with them and give them feedback. And so I find it to be really rewarding. And a huge issue that I help in my interns with is guiding behavior. That's what you could probably guess is a challenge for beginning teachers. And so I find it to be really rewarding to help beginning teachers make some great progress in that area. This last spring quarter, I had 4 interns at Eagle Ridge Elementary School in Ferndale School District, and I'm excited that by the end of their internship, 3 of them already had full-time teaching positions, and the 4th one was getting close to being hired. So it's really, really fun. A really cool thing that happened a few years ago was when my job at Whatcom Community College and my job at Western kind of merged a little bit. I had an intern at Birchwood Elementary School in Bellingham, and the fun little story is that I had taught her her very first education class at Whatcom Community College some years earlier. And then she had graduated and went on to Western, and then here I was working with her her final year at Western. And so it was pretty neat that I was her very first professor in an education class, and then I was the final person to work with her as she got her teaching certification. So I've been working at Whatcom Community College teaching ECE and education classes for quite a while. I started back in 1995 when I was also teaching at Alderwood, and was doing that as something extra. And then beginning back in 1999, then I started doing kind of more classes with education focuses for Whatcom Community College. I also used to also do some of the same kind of work at Skagit Valley College. But I really enjoy working with my students at Whatcom Community College. I enjoy teaching my in-person classes, and I also enjoy teaching online, though I find it to be, of course, really different than teaching in-person classes. But I think that it's pretty neat that how online classes make learning available to students who maybe wouldn't be able to further their education otherwise. And it also just allows for some flexibility for both the students and also the instructor. One of the things that I love doing at Whatcom Community College is I am also the advisor for the Teachers of Tomorrow Club. So I helped found that club back in, I think we started it in the year 2000. So I think it's been around about 18 years now. And we meet once a month, and so be looking for posters and publicity if you're going to be around this next school year at Whatcom Community College. We always have great guest speakers and great topics that we explore. So that is something that I really enjoy. Another thing that I do is I work as an educational consultant. And so basically that means that I get hired to go present at conferences or to work with staffs. So sometimes I work with different child care centers. Sometimes I'm working with different schools. Sometimes I'm working one-on-one with a teacher. Sometimes I'm working with an entire staff, or sometimes a small group. One example is Bellingham School District hired me for a number of years to work with their para-educators and to train them in regards to behavior management kinds of issues. And so many of the times that I'm hired as an educational consultant, those are the kinds of topics that I'm addressing. But I also focus on just effective instructional strategies and curriculum writing, and also on kind of literacy kinds of things. One other job that I have that I do a few times a year is I work as a parent educator for Bellingham Technical College. So about 3 Saturdays a year, I go and teach an all-day parenting class at Bellingham Technical College. One of the models that you'll get to hear about this quarter is the model of what's called Love and Logic. And Love and Logic is a parenting model and also a teaching model. And so at Bellingham Technical College, I focus on the parenting aspect of parenting with Love and Logic. and teach an all-day parenting class, and really find that to be very rewarding. And one other aspect of my job as an educator is that I've also written a few different books. One of the books that I've written, we're going to actually use some of the chapters from that book. I'll be downloading those chapters for you onto our website. And that is a book called Fostering Learner Independence. I co-wrote that book with someone named Karen Raymer. She's someone that I worked with in Bellingham schools for a number of years. And you can see the exciting news is in the middle there. Our book was translated to Arabic, which I thought was quite interesting to think about this book being used by teachers in cultures very different from our own, and in cultures that maybe you would not predict that learner independence would be valued. And so I was really excited when the publisher sent me that book that had been translated. And the neat thing was they not only translated the text, but they even translated the pictures to make them match up more with their cultural background. I also co-wrote a few books called The Teaching Experience with Michael Henniger. He's a retired professor now, from up at Western, and it was a book used for people who were just learning about the teaching profession. Back in 1996, so 22 years ago, I was honored by the Disney's American Teacher Awards, and then I was able to continue doing some work for Disney in the aspect of helping to select future teachers for this award, and also doing some things with Disney that were kind of education focused. And so I had a lot of fun with the time that I was able to work for the Disney company, and I got to meet a lot of wonderful people. I think the people that made the biggest influence on me were the other teachers that I got to meet. And so continues to be some links that I have in the field of education that are pretty exciting. So that happened very early on in my career, and most of the people that were recognized were nearing the end of their career. I feel really fortunate that I was able to be involved in that program. And my most important job is that I am a mom to my son Tyrell. And so these are some pictures of him when he was much younger, but now being the mom of a 15-year-old, we are working on teaching Tyrell to drive. And so he's taking driver's education this summer, and most of the time when we're in the car, he's the driver. He's a very good driver. So this summer, as we delve into this class, I want us to think about a book called Cookies. And Cookies is a book by Amy Krause Rosenthal. It's a wonderful picture book. If you ever get the chance to peek at it in a bookstore or in the library, or maybe to get your own copy, it really is quite wonderful. And basically what it is she takes big words such as cooperate and compassionate, and she defines them in terms of cookies. Let me give you a few examples. So she says, modest means you don't run around telling everyone you make the best cookies, even if you know it to be true. Proud means my chin is high and I sure do like the way my cookies turned out. Courageous means it was not easy for me to tell you that I took the cookie, but I took a deep breath and I made the words come out. So you can see that she takes these complicated words, complicated for kids sometimes, and she defines them in terms of cookies. It's really a wonderful book to use with children. Sometimes when I'm working with young children, I like to just read one page a day and to talk about that word, and then to look for examples of that word throughout the day. But I wanted to introduce this book to you at the beginning of our time together this summer, because I wanted to encourage you to think of a cookie definition of what it means to be open-minded. And this is how Amy Krause Rosenthal defines that. Amy Krause Rosenthal says, open-minded means I've never seen cookies like that before, but sure, I'll try one. So I'm going to ask you to do that as a learner and as an educator this summer. I'm going to ask that as you learn about some new ideas, some new strategies, some different ways of thinking when it comes to working with children, that you are open-minded, that you might say, I've never thought about it that way before, but sure, I'll give that a try. And that might mean just trying it out in your brain. It might mean trying it out by watching some video clips. It might mean that maybe you're even currently working with children and you want to even give some of these ideas a try right away. I'm never going to ask you just to put aside your judgment, but I am going to ask you to try to stay open-minded and to understand that sometimes when we come to these topics, that we oftentimes can come with some biases and with some experiences and some attitudes that that we may not even be aware of. And so this is a class to where I'm hoping that you'll take time to reflect back and to think about why you believe what you believe and to be willing to reconsider some of those beliefs and understandings. And I will be doing the same right alongside you. I always find that I learn each summer that I teach this class as well. And so I look forward to reading your written assignments and your discussion board input so that I can learn from you as well. So we are going to get started. And so this is the end of my introduction. I also have another video that I'm putting online that's going to kind of give you an overview of how the class is organized, so make sure that you watch that video as well. But I look forward to reading your introductions on the discussion board and learning more about you. And I'm hoping that this little video just kind of gave you a sense of who I am, so that as I'm giving you feedback and talking about things in future online lectures, that you just have a sense of the person behind the voice. So let's get started.